Greetings! What I have here is a Ubiquiti NanoStation M5 wireless access point or bridge unit. You can use it as a wireless access point to communicate with other wireless devices, or you can use it as a point-to-point link where one of these is at one end of a link, the other is at the other end, which can be up to 15 kilometers away, I think, with these line of sight. And you can pass traffic between them. You can use it as a network extender. You can use them as routers as well, or you can use it as a basic bridge. So as far as your network is concerned, it's just a long cable, if you like. These ones are this is the M5, so it's 5 gigahertz, and this one handles up to 300 megabits over the Wi-Fi under ideal conditions. Useful if you've got a mesh of several of them linking together. Not so useful for a single straight run because, as you'll see on the bottom, it's got Ethernet connectivity on it, but these are only 100 meg connections, they're not gigabits, so you'll get 300 meg across the link, but you won't get 300 meg through there. But if you've got several of them together, you can get sort of 300 meg of throughput, if you like, between them all, all chatterboxing together. Anyway, I digress. I'm not going to tear this down because it's not mine, it belongs to work. But there's a problem with these, not so much the design of them, but when you want to mount them, you can see it's got these signal strength indicators on the back, which is all well and good when you want to line them up, and you can access them through the web interface as well and see what sort of signal strength is. But if this is mounted on a pole, such as this one, and that pole is on the wall, if you're trying to point this at an access point, it can be quite difficult to line up because you're standing here trying to point this at something over your shoulder. So you're trying, you can't get an access point's eye view, if you like, of exactly what it can see. You're standing on a ladder or scaffolding trying to point this, and you're standing here looking at it and thinking, yep, I think that's about right. And you go to the other end and no, it's actually pointing way out, and back up the ladder or back up the platform and so on. So what I've decided to come up with is a means of pointing this so you can see exactly what this is pointing at. And for that, I don't need the bracket for now. I need a laser pointer, some goggles to go with it, because this is a green laser pointer. They're red goggles because if you point that through there, the red goggles absorb most of the light, leaving very little to come through and burn your eyes out. Quite important with these because you could be on the inside of a window, for example. These will work fairly well through glass, and if you're pointing a laser straight out through the window, you may catch yourself a reflection straight in your eyeballs. So one of those, this is about 15 mil in diameter, so we also need 5 of these 15 mil pipe clips. These are the ones which you mount on the wall, and then they drop the pipe in and then they snap shut over the pipe. So you need 5 of those. A bit of insulating tape because these won't quite grip those tight, so you want a bit of insulating tape to tighten it up. Some wood. This looks like it's a piece of an old pine bed. That's because it is a piece of an old pine bed. Some screws to go with the pipe clips. You need 4 screws, not 5. In fact, you can get away with 3 screws. I'll show you why in a moment. A ruler for measuring what you're doing. A pencil for marking what you're doing. Some tacks, tacking together what you're doing. And optional, a bit of glue. Oh, and of course a saw to cut the wood. I used a miter saw for this. You could use hand saw, hacksaw, bandsaw, circular saw, chainsaw, whatever takes your fancy, whatever you think is least likely to take your fingers off. First of all, let's take some dimensions. 80 63, 30, 18. Also important, let's take the dimensions of the wood we're going to use. 65, 15. Based on those dimensions, we're going to need 2 pieces 63 millimeters, the height to the bracket. 1 piece 110 millimeters, the width of the unit, plus twice the thickness of the wood. We also need another piece 80 millimeters, the width of the unit. This piece you then need to cut lengthways into 4. So what we're going to end up with is a piece there, 2 pieces on the side. At the back we will have 2 pieces, one at the top and one level with the top of the bracket, which is basically level with the bottom of the wood. And on the other side we'll have these 2 pieces mounted that way. So they're not intruding too much into the signal path, but they are holding it fairly stable because they've got quite a bit of surface area down the front of the unit. I did toy with the idea of putting one up there, but it tends to rock a bit like that, and I don't want a whole piece along there. Besides, I'd have to cut another piece of wood otherwise. So we'll have them like that. So it basically forms this top which slides down over this. So we'll start by gluing one of these on here, then gluing one of the back pieces in place, then gluing the other one on, then the lower of the back pieces goes in place, and then the 2 verticals. All the time gluing and tacking the nails through as well at the same time. In fact, I'll use a spare couple of offcuts of wood that I happen to have to prop this up behind here, just to make sure. In fact, for this size wood, one will do nicely. That will go there to make sure this is sitting snugly in the bottom of the box, while this goes in place here. And this one goes in place here. There we go, that's the initial bird box, if you like, which will sit comfortably over the top of the access point. So you can put this on, and this now faces the direction you want to go. So the next step is to mount the pipe clips. And the reason we've got 5 is simple. 1 stays open. This is used as an on-off switch for the laser pointer. So this stays loose, and when you rotate it, it will lock the laser pointer on. Rotate it out the way, it's gone off. Or rotate it that way, it's gone off. So you've got this as your on-off switch. If you clip it shut, it's a bit difficult to actually get it to rotate around. So this one stays open, if you like. And it's putting one on there, it's been quite difficult to get it to stay in alignment and actually even get it in alignment. So that's why we've got another 3 of them, because these ones will all clip together. They're designed so you can have banks of pipes, if you like, and they will go together like that as a set of 3. and that is much easier to line up. You can see you can get a row of 3 quite easily on there, but then of course the laser itself could rattle around, so that's where you have a 4th one in front, giving the laser something much more secure to hold on with. And just in case there are other things behind the laser, we'll mount this towards the front. And in fact, we can mount these right on the edge. Or even mount these on the edge and this one at the back. As long as your laser pointer is big enough, you can then slide through like that. Remember I said you might only need 3 screws for these? Well, that's why. Middle one isn't really doing anything. I can put screws in here and here without worrying about the middle one, and the 3rd screw will then hold the back one. Did I mention needing an electric screwdriver? Never mind. Now remember, this is the front of it because those drop down there, so this can go right at the front, lining up with the edge. Like so. And the last thing, of course, is the tape, because we need a bit of tape around that just to stop this rattling around and falling out. We want this to be fastened pretty much straight and true. If you didn't want to mess that up with a bit of tape, you could just put something on the inside of that, maybe even a small screw, self-tapping screw, just drive through there and grip that. I'm not going to, I'm going to put it on the pointer itself, just behind these 3 dots. Let's turn it off. Right, see how well that holds. Much better. That's holding quite snugly in there now, and with this clipped in or slid over and then spun on, that can now tell you exactly where this is pointing. So you can aim this straight at the other one, especially if it's getting dark. Obviously you wouldn't want to do this in broad daylight unless you're going to use some crazy death ray. This will help you, certainly if you've got an accomplice at the other end wearing another pair of these, of course, we'll be able to see exactly where you're pointing this and guide you over the phone, for example, or through walkie-talkies, left a bit, right a bit, until you've actually got it absolutely dead on. I've made another one to go at the other end now, exactly the same, except this has a double layer at the top, because that means I can mount this strobe slightly higher up without the strobe being too far down into this way, and that gives me something to go at the other end so I can see in the dark roughly where I'm aiming. So what I'm going to do is point the green dot at the red flash. Let's go try it out. Well, I reckon that's close enough, don't you? Just tighten the clamps up, job done. Now obviously this is over quite a short distance, but if it's darker you can use the laser to line up over a much longer distance, especially if you've got a spotter at the other end who can tell you exactly where the laser is. Either that or you need to use binoculars or something if it's just you. But for the sake of, like I said, a couple of quid, it can make aligning these things much easier and much better than trying to get your head round the back of the antenna when there's no room to get your head round the back of the antenna. I hope someone finds this useful. Thanks for watching.